Hi there. This is our review for our statistics final. This is essentially what your final will look like. Your job is to answer these questions and show work fully for the first set. First question is going to be a hypothesis test question. You can take a look at more examples from section 7.2. This question reads, a customer group claims that the mean acceleration time from 0 to 60 miles per hour for a sedan is 6.3 seconds. A random sample of 33 sedans has a mean acceleration time from 0 to 60 miles per hour of 7.2 seconds. Assume the population standard deviation is 2.5 seconds at alpha equals 0.05. Can you reject the claim? All right. So our claim is that mean acceleration is 6.3. So that means mu equals 6.3. Remember, equality always sticks with the null hypothesis, and your alternative has the not equal to or the strictly greater or less than. All right, because we're given a population standard deviation, this is a hypothesis test with the sigma known. When you work with the sigma known, if you're using your calculator, is stat, then test, and you're going to choose z-test. You're going to fill out all these pieces of information, and you make sure you highlight the type of hypothesis test. It's always whatever your alternative, your HOT is. In this case, it's not equal to. Your calculator will determine and work with the consideration of left-tailed, right-tailed, or two-tailed. You don't have to worry about that if you enter the correct portion there. So our calculator says that our P is 0.03. We compare our P to our alpha. And 0.04 is less than 0.05. So because it's less than, we reject the null. Our next question 2 will be something from 5.2 normal distribution. In a recent study on world happiness, participants were asked to evaluate their current lives on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 presents the worst possible life and 10 presents the best possible life. The responses were normally distributed, that's important, with a mean of 5.4 and a standard deviation of 2.2. Find the probability that a randomly selected study participant response was less than 4. So P is less than 4. Whenever you're working with these type of distribution questions, always graph a bell-shaped curve. In the middle, you always have your mean, so label your mean, and then think about you being asked. If you're using your calculator, your command is you're going to press the second button, then the vars button, then choose the second option, normal CDF. And then you're going to enter the lowest point, the highest point, the mean, and the standard deviation. Now for us, we see that we want all of this information, and theoretically it goes down to infinity. So our lowest point is just a really big negative number. You can add as many zeros as you like. And our highest point, so that's our low, and our highest point is at 4. So we enter negative 10,004, followed by our mean and our standard deviation. And that gives us our proportion. Part B, between 4 and 6, while our lowest peak is 4, our highest peak is a 6. So when we enter a calculator command, we have a low of 4, a high of 6, we have our mean and our standard deviation. For C, it says more than 8. So 8 would be our low. Our high, while theoretically goes to infinity, so you want to pick just a really big negative number, a really big positive number, and our same command. For this second part, you can use statistics. You can also use StatCrunch. On the first one, I did show you a video how to use StatCrunch for hypothesis testing, so you can always check that out. 3. Remember how to use raw data to find some key points in statistics. So this question reads, the following data presents the amount of time in minutes a random sample of 8 students took to complete an online portion of an exam in a stats course. Compute the range, mean, and sample standard deviation. So we have 30, 40, 35, 50, 39, 61, 55, and 45. Now I list the commands right here, so you can go ahead and remember how to do it because it's kind of lengthy. Remember, they always have to bring up your number. So if you're entering them in L1, you bring it up here. When you press second, the one button has that L1 button. If you're using Excel, there's commands that give you this exact response to each one. Your answer to make sure you're on the right track should be 44.375. Your sample standard deviation, not to be confused with one that looks like that with an O. You want the sample with the S. Is 10.446. And your range is your highest number minus your lowest number. Our range is 30. Your fourth question works with the empirical rule. Make sure you have it handy from your textbook or from our past notes because it will come up. Or having it handy to visualize better yet will be helpful to visualize such problem. This question was very similar to one that you saw in your exam as well. The weight in grams of a pair of kidneys in adult males between the ages of 40 to 49 has a bell-shaped distribution with a mean of 320 grams and a standard deviation of 25 grams. About 95% of kidneys will be between what weight? So according to the empirical rule, 95% is 2 standard deviations. So our low point will come from subtracting 2 standard deviations worth of units, and our high will be from adding 2 standard deviations. All right, so from our question, we have that our mean is 320. We're going to add 2 standard deviations, and our standard deviation is 25. So our highest point is 320 plus 50 gives us 370. Our low point is 320 minus 50 gives us 270. So we know that our kidneys will be between the weight of 270 and 370. B. What percent of kidneys weigh between 245 grams and 385 grams? And with this question, quite frankly, we're not too sure. So we're going to go ahead and draw a bell-shaped curve and keep track of the values. So we have our mean. We're going to add 1 standard deviation. We're going to add 2 standard deviations and add 3 standard deviations. We do the same thing to the left. Minus 1 standard deviation, minus 2 standard deviations, minus 3 standard deviations. We play with these numbers, and we see that 3 is that lucky number. So this is the standard deviation that we're looking at. 3 standard deviations give me between 395 and 245, which is what your question is asking for. So because it's 3 standard deviations, according to your empirical rule, we know that that's 99.7% of your information. And that's straight off from your text. You should have a little chart next to it that reads 1 standard deviation is 60, I believe it was 64%. I can't recall straight off the top of my head. 2 standard deviations was 95, 3 was 99.7. All right, the next couple of questions they're up to you. This is your chance to impress me and show me everything you've learned in this course. For number 5, choose one interesting problem from the text of medium difficulty that was not assigned. Describe why you find it interesting, solve it. So pick a topic you enjoy working with. Work through it using your own understanding to critique that solution and improve it. So pick a medium difficulty question, walk me through it, show me what you've learned pretty much. So where can you find such questions? You can take a look from your textbook, take a look at some examples. You can take a look at the practice problems at the end of each section. You can also look at homework from your My Math Lab. Pick something of medium difficulty that you enjoy working with. 6. Give one example of mathematical idea from this class that you found creative and explain what you find creative about it. For example, you can choose an instance of creativity you experience in your own problem solving. So again, try to answer your question using examples from your text if you like, or you can look around the internet, see what you find. 7. What concept you found most challenging? What did you do to overcome this challenge and understand this? Also write and solve an equation of the concept you found challenging. And you can pick an example again from your textbook. So tell me why you found it hard, what you did to overcome your challenge, and give me an example of that. Lastly, what mathematical statistical ideas are you curious to know more about as a result of taking this class? 2 to 3 sentences minimum. And for all of these questions, these open response questions, I do want some explanation. All right, that's it for your final. It'll look something almost identical to this. Best of luck.